Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about something that I've heard a lot of questions about in the last couple weeks, and that is how to start a podcast. Now, I love talking about this because actually a couple weeks ago, I started a new podcast for one of my clients, Thrive Co-working for Women, which is actually the co-working space that I work out of. It's a beautiful space and I really love being here. And I'm part of the sales and marketing team. And so we had talked for a while about starting a media company, creating more content for this space. And one day I was sitting in my office and it happened to be free co-working day. So a woman that had come in the co-working space before for a while and was actually one of the speakers at one of our events, she happened to be in the space, and it came to me one day, oh my gosh, like we should interview her and she could be the first guest on our new podcast. Really tailor it to the women that work out of this space, and she would be such the perfect person to be our first kickoff episode. So I brought her in here, and of course she said yes because she's so nice. Brought her in here, recorded a 15-minute episode really fast, and then I had to do something with that content. So I had to create a podcast, and I wanted to launch it very quickly because, like I said, we had just finished a speaking event with her, and I thought it would just be the perfect leading content off that event. So I sat down, and for the next couple hours, I created a podcast from scratch for one of my clients. And so I really want to talk about this because I feel like a lot of people have wanted to start a podcast for years and have all these ideas floating around in their heads, but they are just stuck. They just feel like they can't put a date on the calendar to launch it, and there's just a bunch of roadblocks in the way. So I want to tackle all of those today. I'm going to give you at the end a 10-step guide how you can create a podcast for free. You don't need to buy any fancy equipment. You don't need to do anything special. Completely for free in 10 steps, you could launch a podcast today. So let's dive into the episode. Step number 1, create your strategy. The general rule of thumb for life is I don't start anything without knowing where I'm going to end up. That's what creating a strategy gives you, where you're going and why, and how will you get there. Spending the time upfront mapping out what you want to accomplish with your podcast, giving yourself deadlines and due dates, and doing some market research will help you so much in the long run. Want to start a podcast to help people start a business? Cool, but why though? And what people? There's already a ton of podcasts out there about that topic, so narrowing down your focus, at least at first, can help you stand out among the vast sea of podcasts people can pop in their ears. The main things you need to ask yourself when you're starting a podcast is, number 1, who am I serving? Number 2, what is the change I seek to make in the world with my content? Number 3, when will I launch it? Pick a date or it will never get done. Number 4, what is the format and what are the topics that I want to cover? There's so many different ways to do a podcast, and so kind of getting an idea of how you want it to look and sound and feel is going to be really important up front. Number 5, what does success look like? How will I know if I should keep going? And number 6, what is my exit strategy? What has to happen for me to stop this project? By starting with the end in mind and taking a few minutes to be intentional about continuing and stopping your project, you already are a lot more committed to your podcast. Now that you have a general strategy, let's dive into getting this baby launched. You wouldn't just get in your car and start driving. You'd know where you want to go, then you'd figure out the best way to get there. This is what a strategy gives you, a roadmap for your project with a specific destination in mind. Step number 2, create a free Anchor FM account. Now that you know what kind of podcast you want to create and what your goals are for the podcast, it's time to make your podcast a reality. Head over to anchor.fm to sign up for a free podcast hosting account. I've used Anchor for the last year and a half, and I really love how easy it is to use the platform, how little tech savvy you need to be to get your podcast up and running, and the fact that it's completely free. Step number 3, record your episode. One of my favorite things about Anchor is that you can record directly inside the app. I've recorded from my headphones into the app, but I most recently like to record my voice memos app and then upload the recordings to Anchor on my laptop. I like to record multiple audio clips at a time instead of just trying to record an entire episode in one take to prevent from choppy editing. Don't be afraid to have imperfect audio. There's plenty of podcasts from really famous podcasters in the industry that don't have award-winning audio quality. Step 4, piece together audio clips to create your episode. Once you record all your content in the app, it's time to put together the clips to make your episode. If you recorded your content in voice memo, you can upload all the clips in an MP4 format to Anchor. You want to make sure to title each segment so you won't get confused when creating your episode. Another reason why Anchor is so awesome is that you can add in musical intros that they provide in their software, and you can even add in call-in segments that your audience records on your account. Step number 5, create your podcast graphics on Canva. Now that the audio is taken care of, you want to create visual graphics to add to your episode and anchor before you publish. I like to use Canva to create my graphics because it's another free platform and there's tons of awesome templates you can use for free from Canva, or templates you can purchase on places like Creative Market. Choose your favorite square-shaped design and create your episode cover art. Step 6, add show notes and publish your episode. The last thing you need to do before you publish your episode is to add in show notes and a title for your episode. You can look around for ideas for show notes on some of your favorite podcasters' episodes. You want to add any links in the show notes as well as ask people to subscribe to your podcast. You can use the same show notes on Anchor that you use on your own website if you're going to host the episodes on your site. Once your title and show notes are ready, your audio is edited to perfection, and you have cover art designed, it's time to hit publish. Your episode will publish on your Anchor platform for any of your Anchor subscribers to listen to. Now we're going to go over how to get your episode on iTunes and 12 other platforms. Step 7, distribute your podcast across 13 platforms. You can set up your iTunes account right on the Anchor website. When you sign up for podcast distribution, you can select which platforms, Anchor has up to 13, you would like your podcast distributed on. This is so important because it allows you to meet your listeners where they are. Even if you've never used anything like Podbean, it only allows more people to view your podcast the more places it's distributed. Step 8 is creating a podcast page on your website. If you have a website, I would definitely recommend creating a podcast page to direct more of your website visitors to listen to your podcast. I use WordPress and the Divi theme for all of my websites, and it makes it super simple to create an easy podcast page to publish my latest episodes. I treat my podcast page a lot like a blog, so every new episode has its own new post. Like I said above, the show notes you created for Anchor can double as the copy for your podcast post. I was able to quickly create a new podcast page from a template I've created for my client to host their first episode. Step 9, create podcast promotional graphics in Canva. You've already created podcast cover art, but you'll now definitely want to create social media graphics and email graphics to promote your new podcast to your audience. Again, there's tons of awesome templates in both Canva and anywhere you can purchase digital templates online. Some of my favorite places to purchase graphic templates are Creative Market, Etsy, and any of my favorite designers' digital product shops, and I've linked to one of those on the blog. I have my own template shop also where I'm going to be putting more and more podcast templates to help you promote your podcast, so be sure to sign up for my email list if you're looking for more templates to promote your podcast. Bonus tip, one of my favorite places to promote a new podcast episode is Instagram Stories. I have an Instagram Stories podcast trailer training and template in the Social Club template shop to show you how to make these awesome videos to drive more traffic to your podcast episodes. And the final step is share your new episode on social and your email list. Of course, now that you've created your graphics and templates to use over and over again, it's time to promote your post on your own social and to your email list. Schedule posts to go out on your favorite content scheduling apps and send an email to your list directing them to listen to your first episode. Now you just need to rinse and repeat every time you create a new episode for your podcast. So there you have it, my friends, how to launch a podcast in just 2 hours. Don't forget to download your free 10-step guide to launching a podcast for free below. And if you love this episode and you know your friends have been wanting to start a podcast as well, please feel free to share this. There's share buttons at the bottom. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it anywhere you think that your people can get a hold of it. We would love to help them out and have them get this guide as well. Now, of course, after you watch or listen or read, however you consume this content, I would love to hear from you. So jump in the comments below and let me know what podcast you're going to create. I know you have ideas floating around in your head, so tell us what you're going to create this year in your podcast in the comments, and join us next week in a new episode.